Welcome, Pewter Report readers, listeners, and viewers, to another edition of Victory Friday edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. Friday. Yeah, you heard that right. We are live on a Friday.
Got to get down on Friday.
That's right. Like people said, oh, you probably won't do the pod on Friday. No, we're doing it. John Ledyard, Matt Matera here with you of pewterreport.com to make sure we dive all the way into this Bucs victory over the Eagles. Weird football game on Thursday night, as they all are, as you so astutely wrote this past week, Matt. Don't expect anything that you typically expect on a Thursday night football game, and it's a good thing we listened to you.
Hey, I was 2 points. I predicted the Bucs were going to win 28-24. They won 28-22. So I was not to hype myself up, but I was pretty close to getting the exact score.
Well, I think at this point, so here's my, again, talking about hyping yourself up. You're undefeated this season picking Bucs games, right? Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
Are you undefeated picking Bucs games this year?
No.
Not in terms of the line. I'm saying in terms of who's going to win for like Pewter predictions.
No, I got the LA game wrong.
Okay, all right, the Rams game wrong. I'm 6-0 still this year. Remember last year I was 18-2. So I know that people think that's good, and it is, but I'm starting to feel like insane pressure each week to pick the game right.
Yeah.
And I'm like literally getting like, before the Eagles game, like, what if I pick this? Like, you want to keep that record. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially at 6-0, you want to, 72 Dolphins thing, man. You want to,
you are on pace with that. You got a lot of streaks going, whether it's DiMaggio 56 hits, The Undertaker going 21-0 at WrestleMania. You're up there with some of the streaks right now, man.
Hey, if I could pick every game right this regular season, it's the kind of regular season that might lend itself to it a little bit because of the slate that they play. I'll be happy, but we'll see how it goes. Today's show is brought to you by Celsius, as all of our podcasts are. Celsius, they are out here changing the game with their wonderful, beautiful energy. Celsius powers active lives every day with essential, functional energy. You can see all the flavors that they've got there. There's the kiwi guava, the Fuji apple pear, the wild berry, the tropical vibe. What's amazing about Celsius's energy drinks is that they taste unbelievable. They also aren't bad for you, and there's no crash afterward. It's like they devised the energy drink cheat code, and it tastes unbelievable as well. As you hear Matt crack his open.
Yep, cracking mine open right now.
I was down in one last night, the Peach Vibe, and it powered me enough to be able to prove Matt's story almost to the end. On the last sentence, I passed out on my couch last night.
I fell asleep on my couch too, so no shame in that.
There you go. That was that kind of a night last night after the late game. But Celsius, great stuff. And guess what? You can find them if you go to Celsius.com. You can find them there. You can use the store locator to figure out what stores they're at near you. You can also go to Amazon and do the subscribe and save option and get yourself a percentage off. Get those puppies delivered to you on a regular basis. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the best protein bar in existence, the Fast Protein Bars by Celsius, the white chocolate cookies and cream, and the caramel peanut crunch. These things are amazing. If you click the link in the YouTube description for this show, you'll be able to order yourself a variety pack of these two wonderful, the best tasting protein bars. Silky smooth layers. They replace sweets for me. They honestly do. I mean, both my wife and I, we're thrilled about their addition to our diet. So check those out as well. Okay, Matt, we got let's break this one down a little bit because
yes, sir.
We want to make sure that we get into the nitty-gritty of this game as we always do. We don't want to get to the weekend and not have covered some topics that I know people are looking to see covered. One thing that we'll do on this show is we will take some of your questions as you have them. So I know some people ask them before that I get to this point in the show. So if you have questions and you asked them earlier, maybe bump them down in the chat and ask them again. And then I'll try to get to them from last night's game. There's a couple things I want to touch on, Matt. I want to touch on the Jason Pierre-Paul stuff. Whether he is playing a lot of snaps. He actually played more snaps than Shaq Barrett in this game the other day, and people are clamoring for Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. And we actually heard from Bruce Arians on this today. JC Allen asked him straight up about it. Let me see if I can pull up the comments.
Yeah, he's talking about a long-term resume was brought up about JPP.
Yeah. He said basically in asking why Joe Tryon-Shoyinka isn't playing more snaps. Bruce said he's playing plenty. He had 20 snaps.
Yeah.
JPP has got a bigger resume and a better one. Joe just keeps growing as a player. He played well last night. He had 20 opportunities. And then he was asked again if Tryon-Shoyinka would give the Bucs more of an advantage athletically than Pierre-Paul. Not really. Jason's pretty strong. I don't understand what that has to do with that.
He said he does more things than just the pass rush.
He said, and there's a lot more than just rushing the passer.
Yeah.
Aaron said. So yeah, I mean, true. And one of those things is run defense, and Jason Pierre-Paul wasn't any good at that last night either. I'm not like out on Jason Pierre-Paul, Matt, but I just struggle to see where he is bringing value to the field in ways that Joe Tryon-Shoyinka was not. Before the season, I said, here's the deal. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka just needs to be in a lot because pass rush is important, but Jason Pierre-Paul is clearly the better all-around player still at this point in time. That might be true if Pierre-Paul were himself or were healthy. I don't know, but he's not playing like it this season, and he's certainly not played like it the last 2 weeks, and it's had a real negative effect on the defense.
Yeah, I have a feeling that JPP, he definitely came back a little too early, but that's just the nature of who he is as a player. He's extremely determined. I don't want to say that he lost a step, but compared to Shaq Barrett and JTS, he's the slowest out of the three. And I think you can get away with that, but specifically for this matchup when you're playing against Jalen Hurts, and not to look too far down the road, but next week when they're playing the Bears against Justin Fields and you're dealing with another mobile quarterback, you need the guys that are going to be chasing after the quarterback there, and that's just not going to be JPP, especially when the best part of his game in this current iteration of JPP is that he's a smart player, the experience, he knows how to do a lot of stuff. But we saw him do things in last night's game that were not smart plays, crashing to the inside, opening the gate for Jalen Hurts to scramble to the outside. And also playing with the club on his hand. Sure, there's nothing you could do. You break your finger, you're playing with the club in your hand. But you can't tell me that doesn't hurt the team. It has to, especially, and the Bucs didn't do this too much in last night's game, but Todd Bowles this season in particular has loved dropping his outside linebackers back in coverage. You don't want to do that with a guy that has one hand available to make an interception. I wouldn't doubt JPP could make a one-handed grab. But overall, you just look at what JTS has done in a short period of time, and I believe you mentioned this, or you or Scott mentioned this somewhere. It's not like Joe Tryon-Shoyinka doesn't have starting experience because he started in those 2 games when JPP is out. So it's not like you're throwing a guy in there and you just don't really know what to expect because he's building up his own small little resume here to start his rookie career. And Scott said it in his 2-point conversion. He said that there's no way that JPP should be playing 79%, 80% of the snaps, whatever it was. It should be a 55-45 split with JTS. And obviously Shaq does his thing on the other side. I couldn't agree with that more at this point in this current player of JPP that we're getting.
Right. I'm still stuck on he played more snaps than Shaq Barrett.
Yeah, I know. Crazy.
I'm not like, what, how? Like, I just don't get that one. Like, that's, there's a couple things that Arian said that I just kind of disagreed with fundamentally in terms of what he was actually saying. I'm not even necessarily, he's entitled to his opinion. If he believes Jason Pierre-Paul is better for their team out on the field, that, he's close to the situation. Okay. But his reasoning didn't make any sense to me. JPP has a bigger resume. Well, what difference does that make? There's, tons of retired dudes that have better resumes. Like Ndamukong Suh has a better resume than Vita Vea, but in the gotta have it situation, which one of those guys do you want rushing the passer? You want Vita Vea rushing the passer. So that didn't make any sense as a reason to me. And I know he's getting these questions and just talking off the top of his head. He doesn't care about making sense necessarily, but that stood out to me. Like, have we really thought this through, or are we just going with the veteran and not really thinking about it and looking at it from a perspective of like, man, we really might need to like make a change here. That's hard. That I admit is hard. Like playing Jason Pierre-Paul less. I don't know how he personally is going to take it as a guy who loves to play and loves to play a lot. But beyond that, it's just difficult. He's a leader. He's a veteran. He's a guy everybody likes. And so I'm not saying these things are easy. There's layers to these things. I know just from coaching high school for a couple of years, like there's layers to these things. I can't even imagine at the NFL level with adults and the resumes that these guys have, the humbling experience it might be to see a diminished snap count. So I get that it's hard, but then later, he was asked about the athletic advantages of having Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, and he said there's not really a difference because Jason Pierre-Paul's pretty strong. I don't even know how that relates to what it was asked.
We posted the picture multiple times of Joe Tryon-Shoyinka working out. That guy looks pretty strong.
Well, yeah, and I just don't like. He's asked about the athleticism difference. I mean, being strong doesn't mean you're athletic. So it was just kind of a unique answer to me. I didn't really understand it. I mean, he's trying to probably save some face for JPP and not say something negative there. But there's no question Joe Tryon-Shoyinka is an athletic upgrade. I don't think anybody would really argue that. I think that what you're seeing here is the coaches are unwilling to move off of JPP at this point in time. And we'll see. I mean, he gets a 10-day break here. Maybe he gets closer to being 100%. Yeah. But to me, when you're talking about a team that is trying to get away from blitzing so much, so they don't leave their cornerbacks in tough situations, and they need that 4-man pass rush, and they're being passed against at a rate higher than every other team in the league by far. Pass rushers, one-on-one pass rushers who can win up front in a 4-man rush, the value just goes way up for those guys. And I'll give Bulls credit for this. He's playing more edge defenders now. He's getting packages where Nelson, JPP, and Shaq and Tryon, some of those 3 of those guys are out there together at times. Defensive tackle snap counts were at a low in this past game. So he's getting those guys out there a lot, but I'd like to see him as 4-man rushes, and I'd like to see Joe Tryon-Shoyinka playing more than 19 snaps. Bruce also rounded it up to 20. He played 19, I think is what. But anyway, I think that would be helpful for this team moving forward. Do they need to do it against Chicago to win? I don't know.
Probably not, but they definitely do. They definitely do need it at some point because currently, especially over, I guess you could say the last 2 weeks, the pass rush has been Shaq Barrett and mostly just Shaq Barrett. Vita Vea gets a great push up front, and Sue, I believe, has been steady. But ultimately, the Bucs are going to rely on their outside linebackers to get those sack productions, unless they concoct a blitz. A scheme whether it's Devin White but you know what I mean if they're going to go with the 4-man pass rush, which they certainly need to with all the injuries, and we'll get into the injuries as well. You need more than just Shaq, because then they're going to start double teaming Shaq. They're going to chip him and everything like that. So someone else needs to pick it up. And as great as Vita Vea has been, and I think you saw it with the game against Hurts, a lot of the interior defensive line in terms of passing plays, they did. Sure, Jalen Hurts had his moments where he was scrambling, got out, and made some plays. But I thought there were times as well, too, where it seemed like their focus was just keep him in the pocket and force him to throw it because he's pretty inaccurate, and I think everyone saw that last night. But when you're doing that, again, it comes down to the outside linebackers to finish the job there. And outside of Shaq, the Bucs didn't really have too much of that.
Yeah, that was the problem, is people couldn't get off blocks even to contain, and that was an issue. And I think it's been an issue for Jason Pierre-Paul since his issue with his hand has come up. So I think that's something that the Bucs are just going to have to keep looking at. No question about it in my mind. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka playing more snaps is going to help that defense. And William, appreciate the $5 super chat. Is Tom Brady the best quarterback in the league? This was Tom Brady's lowest graded performance from Pro Football Focus. I think because you couldn't get enough what we call +2 plays out of it. They grade each play. This was just such an underneath, right? They called 11 screens. He completed all 11.
they were
11
they're very screen heavy. And it was mainly just Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette, and OJ Howard that were getting all these screens. I think Gio Bernard might have had one as well, but yeah, it's crazy. So many screens and all just to the same people.
Right. And then you go down the field. I think he had 2 pass attempts to 20 yards or more. Both of them were incomplete. One was intercepted, obviously, and then the other one was not close either. And it was just, I'm glad that it was only 2, to be honest, because it just wasn't there. And Bruce Arians said it really well today. I thought it's just what they were playing. They were playing very, very soft zone. And by the way, they've done this in every game this season. We told people going in, if you listen to the Pewter pregame show, we said that over and over again. It's probably not going to be a big play game. Probably going to have to live underneath, and that's what they did. Their first 3 touchdown drives, and the fourth. I mean, that's all every drive was. So when they scored, all 4 drives they scored on, they did this perfectly. So they understood the assignment essentially, and they were executing at that level. So he said, keep everything in front of us. That's how the Eagles were playing. The few times we tried to hit home runs, they weren't very good plays. So it's just keep taking what they're giving you, and Tom does a great job of that. It was not a game designed for a quarterback to star pass to pass like Miami's was. You know what I mean? Like, it was not set up that way. If he had tried to be that type of hero, it would have gotten them in trouble more often than not. And one of the great things about Brady, in my opinion, is that he will not force that for any. He will take he's supposed to on a play, even if it doesn't mean after the game everybody's going to be freaking out about how good he is on Twitter or in the media or in the newspaper, whatever he still reads. I don't know. He's old, so maybe newspaper applies for him, but he doesn't care about that kind of stuff. He literally just cares about executing what he's supposed to on a given play. He doesn't get greedy. He doesn't get overly ambitious or anything like that. And I think that is an underrated part of being a really good quarterback in this league. So William asked that, you could take this season as a sample size, 6 weeks of this season. Yeah, he's absolutely in that conversation. I mean, I'm still taking moving forward. I'm still taking Pat Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he's got a few more years. I don't know. Rodgers is up there too.
Well, if Brady plays another 10 years, then I think that opens up the discussion because they'll all still be here.
Mahomes retiring and Brady's still going.
That would be unbelievable.
It will be something crazy like that.
Possible.
He'll outlast somebody. He's got to outlast Ben Roethlisberger clearly because nobody's going to want him after this year, and he'll outlast somebody like maybe even an Aaron Rodgers. We'll see. I don't know. Rodgers is still looking pretty good. Big MGM says, any word on how long Sherm is out? Ian Rappaport said today he was getting an MRI, and Bruce Arians told us he hadn't gotten the MRI yet. But he is
Sherman tweeted, but he was very active on Twitter today as he took someone to the cleaners on Twitter. I guess you can't take too much from what he said about I'll be back soon or something like that, because you never really know until you actually got the MRI.
Yeah.
But at least Richard Sherman was optimistic.
Right. Rappaport said that he would likely miss a couple weeks. That's what he said this morning. So I would say probably unlikely for the Bears game in week 7. Arians was trying to update on some other injuries, but didn't have as much information. Seems like Winfield's going to be good to go. I really thought he'd say Gronkowski would be good to go, but he didn't want to go there. And I asked him straight up if Gronkowski's injury recovery has been a little bit slower than they thought it would be. And he basically was like, not really. It's been about what we thought. We just didn't feel like we really needed the roster spot. And so we didn't feel any reason to put him on injured reserve because of that. So, little kick on the pants for Khalil Davis on the way out the door.
Hey, he's on the Colts. He's on the Colts now.
That's right. He's moved on.
Another team wanted him.
He won't even see what Aaron said. Yeah, but so that's where kind of they're at. And Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy Bunting. It sounds like he said
not till after the bye.
Yeah, at the end, what did he say? In 3 to 4 weeks, I think we'll get some of these guys back. I'm assuming he's not talking about Gronk and Winfield there. I'm assuming he's talking about Murphy Bunting or Carlton Davis.
Right. So I viewed it as short term. Gronk and Levante David and now Richard Sherman are the guys that you're hoping and at least expecting to come back over the next couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. Carlton and Sean Murphy Bunting way down the road this season.
Yeah. And there would be maybe a chance for Sherman to play in the Saints game, but if I'm guessing right now, I'm guessing based off everything that's been said and everything that we hear, I think you'll see Gronkowski and Winfield play. I don't know about Levante David. I really just have no read on him for week 7. I think he'll play against the Saints though in week 8. I think you'll see the bye week happen and then maybe Carlton Davis and still maybe another week for Sean Murphy Bunting. If I'm guessing, he led with saying Sean Murphy Bunting, is still ways off. And then he's like, we still don't know for sure about Carlton.
Yeah.
So I think Carlton beats Sean Murphy Bunting back.
I actually don't think we'll see Gronk until the New Orleans game. It's just a feeling I have. Rib injuries seem like they suck, especially the one that Gronk had. Mm-hmm. And you know what? With the production that OJ Howard had for this game, I think the Bucs can get away with not having Gronk for another game. It's just a feeling. I don't really have too much to back it up. It's just
the biggest area that they'll miss Gronkowski is in pass protection. OJ Howard is just terrible in pass protection, and they have they have Robert Quinn, they have Khalil Mack, they have a deep interior defensive line. Akeem Hicks is there. They just have a lot of really good players up front. They're one of those teams, kind of like the Eagles, but better than the Eagles on the edges, obviously, with Mack and with Robert Quinn. The year he's having is unbelievable. And so, they're going to be the best 4-man rush the Bucs have faced so far this season. Everything else, I think I like the Bucs for a lot of the other aspects of the game, but
it's going to be really fun watching this weekend the Bears and the Packers. Let's see how the Bears look after a couple weeks with Fields playing against a very good opponent with the Packers, and then having to play the Bucs after that. That's a tough 2-game stretch for them right there. But
it is.
We'll see how their defense looks against Packers offense that obviously is up there with some of the better offenses in the league.
Right.
Every Bucs fan should be watching the tape this week before the Bears game.
Yeah, and we'll see too who plays for the Packers offensive line. I know they've had a lot of backups
Right.
in this season and hasn't slowed him down too much. But yeah. Adolfo says, someone tell Jamel Dean what our DBs coaches used to tell us: can make a play on the ball. Can't make a play on the ball if you don't turn and look for the ball. Yeah, Bruce kind of laid it out. He was funny. He said the ball was so poorly thrown on the pass interference that it was hard. It made it harder for the DB. And I think he's right about that. You'd still like to see just better awareness and like more timely kind of processing from Dean. And then he goes and makes a great play on the ball.
I was going to say, so it was almost like looking at an EKG thing where, he had the pass interference. He didn't have his head around, so it was down. Then he made the interception and it was up. And then they didn't call it, but it was we talked about this last night on the podcast, when Quez Watkins caught it in the end zone and Dean wasn't even looking at him, but it looked like it was pass interference. They didn't call it. Then the EKG is back down. It kept moving up and down for the whole game. And I think that's just that's the case with Jamel Dean. You're going to get some good. You're going to get some.
Well, it's funny.
You're shaking your head.
You have 4 pass breakups and an interception, and he was over. I think people were 0 for 4 targeting him, but he had a 45-yard penalty, gave up a 2-point conversion, and he definitely committed DPI on at least 2 of his pass breakups.
I did think it was a bit weird. They tried to keep targeting against Dean. Meanwhile, Sherman left the game. First of all, it's crazy. The Bucs couldn't even get through like one series in the first quarter before another guy left the game with injury. But you would think when Sherman went out that they would automatically start targeting D. Delaney and guys over there, but they didn't. They kept going after Jamel Dean, and sure, they had a little success with it, but I just thought that was a kind of an odd thing to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the deal is with D. Delaney, because I got to watch the tape to see, because he only got targeted 4 times, gave up 2 catches, 30 yards, but Pro Football Focus has him as the lowest graded player in the entire game for the Bucs, so offense or defense. So I got to look and see, like, was he leaving guys open and screwing up and they just didn't target him at all? Is that what PFF's seeing? I don't know. So, I like the grades just because they tell me, oh, go back and look for this. And if I don't see it, I don't see it, what they're seeing. But if I do, then I'm like, oh, okay, good. I got a good lead to know what to watch. And so, I thought he looked fine as well. I thought that was a good game for Delaney. This was interesting though. After the game, Bruce Arians, or today, I should say, an hour or so ago, he was kind of non-committal on Dean being the starter for next week. I don't think it's because of how D. Delaney.
Yeah, I was going to say,
next week. Yeah,
I think Dean's
Dean's pretty good. Yeah,
number 1 corner.
I think with D. Delaney, he is not committing to him being the starter, and I don't think it's because of how Delaney played in his mind, though. I think in an ordinary week, this would have been Pierre Desir starting, in my opinion, based on Desir went in the last game when Dean was and Davis were both down. He was the guy in ahead of Delaney in week 4 against the Patriots. And so I think moving forward, you might see Pierre Desir back in there. They wanted Pierre Desir available in this game in case they needed to go to a dime or a defense. If the Eagles were spreading the field, trying to throw the football a lot like that, they wanted him available for that role. And late in the game, they used him because Kevin Minter was playing. And so this weird, but Levante David's status might impact whether Pierre Desir starts at outside corner or plays this, he played those 6 snaps the other day. And so the way they see it is they don't want to risk losing the whole package if he got hurt in nickel or in base defense. So they're just not going to play him. Either they're going to play a corner they probably think is below him on the depth chart because they don't want to risk him getting hurt, because if he gets hurt, they lose the whole package. And then Kevin Minter would have to play 100% of snaps. They wanted to leave the door open to keep Minter off the field, which I thought actually was a good idea. I don't know if I would have been quite as careful as they were and not played a corner you think is better. But at that point, Desir Delaney, it's probably not a huge, massive difference. And so, yeah, I think Desir could start moving forward if Levante David's back, because then they're going to be like, oh, we don't need the dime package because David and White, they're never coming off the field. So we're just going to play Desir at the outside corner spot. But it might be Desir, Dean, and Cockrell at corner with Delaney as the top backup. And Desir wasn't even on this team a couple weeks ago. Dean was a backup who we were wondering if he was even good after week 1. And, Cockrell's been a break glass in case of emergency type of guy. And we didn't even know D. Delaney was 2 months ago. So it's an interesting group. And Chicago obviously is not really this great arsenal passing attack. We'll see how Justin Fields develops, but there's going to be more bigger tests down the road if they can't get healthier than they are now.
Yeah, but the other thing is, what are you going to do? You can't get another guy off the street because they did that with Richard Sherman.
Right.
And obviously the Gilmore thing didn't work out. And his name is slipping my mind, but that other corner just got traded from the Seahawks. Flowers, I believe.
Trey Flowers, yeah.
Yeah, Trey Flowers. Right. I couldn't remember. Anyway. So, you're not going to find another player around the league right now, most likely, that you can go, oh, hey, this guy's going to come in and instantly turn things around. So it's definitely going to be on the coaching staff. And Arians was very complimentary on Kevin Ross and Todd Bowles as well, too, for getting these guys ready to play. That, again, it goes into the whole, this is why things are weird on a short week, where you're essentially your number one backup in this current team with the Bucs is Desir, but we're just not going to play him because we need him for another situation. I'm actually not as, I guess maybe part of it is because of the caliber of opponents that the Bucs are playing over the next 2 weeks before the bye with the Bears and the Saints. I just look at the defense right now, and obviously, sure, the secondary is concerned, which is all the injuries alone, let alone the quality of play that they're getting from the secondary. But you're getting Antoine Winfield Jr. back. And with how good the Bucs offense is, if all the Bucs have to do, in my opinion, each week, and it's easier said than done, but if you limit teams to 24 points a game, they've allowed 22 and 17 over the last 3 weeks, 17, 17, 22. If you hold teams to 24 points, sure, that's not great, maybe average at best. The Bucs are still going to win games with the offense that they have. I think sometimes we get a little over analytical, not analytical, but like we look at something and we're like, why isn't this happening? Like, why aren't they shutting out people? The Bucs defense had like 4 or 5 3-and-outs in last night's game, which you don't see that much. And sure, you want them to shut the team out every week or get multiple turnovers. It's just not going to happen with this secondary right now. Holding a team to 24 points, knowing that the Bucs average over 30 points a game, they scored 28 last night. That's got to be more of the overall expectation of, hey, let's just keep these guys at bay, let our offense do our thing, and we're going to be good to go until we get all of our horses back, for lack of a better term.
I mean, it's funny too. You know how like 1 or 2 things will change everybody's perception of what something was. If the Bucs decide, hey, we're not going to kneel down, we're going to actually just score a touchdown here.
Right. They could have scored 35 points.
Right. It's 35 points almost certainly. I think they've not been stopped at all from inside the 5 or 10 this season. It's so, it's 35 points. And then what does it change for people? You know what I mean? Like just the way that, another 30 point before this offense is great. This offense is rolling, so that's how I look at it. I think they had 5 scoring drives that they put together in this game. We're close on a couple others. They bogged down kind of between the 40s and they need to execute better. They had some 4th and 1, 4th and 2 situations. They were working underneath and you kind of got to make every play count when you're looking in those small chunks. That's why I think it's hard. It's going to be hard for teams to, unless they get the Eagles to stop what they're doing, like Dallas ran the ball so well. They got the Eagles to kind of stop what they were doing, I think, in that game. It's going to be hard to like put up 40 some points on the just because of how they play. It takes so long to score on them and you have to string together so many plays. So as soon as you get a Donovan Smith penalty, or as soon as you get a Leonard Fournette, 1 yard rush on first down, and then you get 6 yards on, now you're in 3rd and 3. If you miss it all, so you put yourself in a lot of short yardage situations, and the Bucs didn't always finish those or didn't go for it on 4th and 1 a couple times, 4th and 2, 4th and 3. So then they did, and they didn't execute that play either. Things like that need to be cleaner for sure. But I don't think this was like a horrible offensive performance or anything, just because they didn't get a lot of the big plays we're used to seeing.
And the run game was great too. Loving the run game lately. I believe
I'd say it was good enough. There were a couple good runs, but I did feel like if they had run the ball better,
they kind of went away from the run on that.
The one drive, that they
right.
Out.
Yeah. And it was like, well, the run game was working so well. Why did you go from there? I also would have been fine. And again, hindsight's 2020 and everything. I would have been okay if they tried to run it on 4th and 2. I thought for a moment because Gio Bernard
4th and 3, wasn't it? It was 4th and 3.
Yeah, 4th and 3.
But
Gio Bernard obviously lined out outside, and then he came into the backfield. It crossed my mind. I'm like, are we getting a Gio Bernard draw play here? All right, sign me up. I'm down with that. They obviously didn't. But Aaron has talked a lot about we want to get out to a lead, and then we're going to run the ball in the second half and run out the clock. And that was a prime opportunity to do that, and they didn't necessarily. But overall, I mean, Leonard Fournette averaging over 4 yards per carry. He's doing everything in the offense for this team. Outside of the injuries, I don't really think there's too many concerns about this team.
Yeah. Hey, if you like hearing us get into some of the nitty gritty on this team, including where some concerns could be in upcoming weeks when they play some better teams down the road, you could check us out on Spotify Green Room, Pewter Report on Spotify Green Room. You can follow us there, but download on the App Store and get it on Google Play. You can join the conversations, a social audio app. You can talk about music, sports, and culture. You get the opportunity to take the mic and give you your thoughts and your opinions on these things. You can jump into rooms that are related to your interests and have at it. Give your thoughts and opinions. And so follow Pewter Report. You'll get the invites when we go live on Spotify Green Room, and you can check us out on there and make sure we should follow you back if you give us a follow on there. Give us a shout on there too. So check out Spotify Green Room for more of that type of content. Matt, this game marks the beginning, part of an interesting trend. The Eagles, it's funny, they actually were one of the better passing attacks statistically that the Bucs were going to face over this month. That started with Miami and worked its way down to the bye week. Basically, they were slated to, if there's ever time to miss as many DBs and defensive players as they're missing, they were slated to play some of the worst passing attacks in the NFL. Miami currently, and I know they're a game behind the Bucs now because they haven't played this week, but in 5 games, Miami just topped 1,000 yards passing last week. So not great. There's again, and they were okay in that one. Bucs were okay, but not great in that game either. So that's where Miami was at going into the game. Philadelphia was actually way up there. I think they were like 12th in passing offense. Now you've got a back-to-back 2 weeks where you're facing the worst passing offenses statistically, but in terms of the amount of passing yards that they've thrown for this season, that, not necessarily efficiency. The Saints, for example, are like 14 of 15 in the red zone, like something insane, like unsustainably insane, which is why I think the Saints are kind of primed for some regression offensively, because they are just living right now off the few red zone opportunities they've gotten this year. They haven't even been there that much. They're scoring the percentage of drives the Saints have scored on this season, Matt. What did I say it was the other day? Like 27th in the NFL. They're not scoring on very many drives, but every time they get down there, they're getting touchdowns. Like they're just cashing in every time right now. I don't see that as sustainable. The play calling is very good, but red zone is always a little bit more fickle than that, even amongst the best teams. They're at like 93% right now. So I think they're due for some regression. Outside of that, though, the Saints have only thrown for 904 yards this season.
I know. That's unbelievable. And they won't get that this week.
That's not even worse. The Bears are worse. The Bears have thrown for 728 yards. That was like week 1 for Brady. Like,
yeah,
it's unbelievable to me. So these guys are just, and both are not even completing 61% of their passes right now. The Bears have obviously split quarterback work. It's been all Jameis Winston, other than a few Taysom Hill passes here and there for the Saints. But like I said, he's been great in the red zone. I just don't know how sustainable that is. Everywhere else in the field, it's been pretty miserable for both of these teams throwing the football this year. So just in terms of comparison for people, the Bucs, I know, like I said, they have a game on them. They're over 2,000 yards passing this season. And you have the Saints and the Bears not even hitting 1,000. The Bears aren't even close. Like they probably won't hit 1,000 after this week's game. They're going to go the first 6 weeks of the season without 1,000 passing yards. So if there were ever a time to be missing corners, it's probably these two matchups. The passing attacks for both of these teams have not unlocked yet whatsoever. Does that happen next week? Does it happen going against the Bucs and all the injuries they have? Maybe we'll see, but on paper it looks good.
Some people say that the Bucs defense, just the way it's designed with allowing the underneath throws and everything, that they let subpar quarterbacks look like some of the best quarterbacks in the league when they play against the Bucs defense. I'm not saying I think there's a little truth to that. I'm not going to say like 100% that they do, but timing is everything. With the way that the whole secondary is hurt right now, sometimes you catch a break, and I think the Bucs are really getting that in this situation, especially with the Bears too. Their starting running back had a knee injury, and he was doing Montgomery was doing very well, so that's going to help out the Bucs too, not having to go up against him, and it hurts the Bears even more with, all right, well, now you really have to throw the ball down the field. It's not going to be the case. I also think, too, you got to factor in the Bucs are going to have, sure, they have the weekend off, but all of that rest and more preparation, I think, is only going to help this secondary when, I mean, everyone knows, hey, we got to help out the secondary, all right? It's not the pass rush on Sunday isn't going to be like, what? Like, what's going on here?
Guys getting shredded back there?
I am curious, though, again, because they're playing a mobile quarterback. Will we see the Bucs do what they did last night and not really send too many blitzes, or do they say, all right, this is a rookie guy, he doesn't even know what's coming, and just keep sending Devin White and whoever's playing in that game? I'm wondering if they'll go back to what they had been doing all season. One last thing I want to say about the Bucs Bears. They have this weird thing going on. Now it's different players and everything, but it seems like every time the Bucs go to Chicago lately, bad things happen. And then every time the Bears come to Tampa and Raymond James Stadium, the Bucs absolutely just destroy them. So if that trend continues, should be good things.
The Trubisky game was in Chicago.
Yes,
in Chicago a few years ago. Okay. And then obviously last year's game
that was the Ryan Fitzpatrick last hurrah before. Well, James had just came back, but they stuck with Fitz, and then obviously last season.
Yeah. I'm fascinated for the Bears matchup, but I would be stunned if the Bucs lose that game. I would be. We'll see how they play against Green Bay. Maybe they change my mind, but and then the Saints game is going to be tough just because Saints defensively, I still don't. I think that's one hurdle Byron Leftwich and Bruce Arians still have to get over, even after the playoff game. I don't think that offense was necessarily humming. They benefited from a lot of short fields, turnovers, things like that. So I'm fascinated for that game. But yeah, I mean, no question, the Bucs should be 6-1 going into that game. They should be, in my opinion, they're the better team in both their next two games. Should be 7-1 going into their bye week, and so they're still in a good position despite all the injuries. I think I give them a lot of credit for doing what they need to do. And here's the other thing, Matt: since Tom Brady took over as quarterback of this team, have they really lost to a bad football team other than, I mean, the Bears made the playoffs, even though they weren't good, but they lost to that Bears team. They lost to the Saints twice in the regular season, the Rams, the Chiefs. I mean, they haven't lost to anybody they were supposed to lose to other than that Bears game probably. So, and same thing this year. I mean, sometimes a good team gets you, but I think that's the one thing with Brady, man. How many times over the years, it might have been closer than it should have been in a game here or there. How many times over the years did he lose in New England to a team that was definitely worse? I mean, just didn't happen very often.
Someone just said it in the chats. It was essentially Miami.
Yeah, Miami a few
even
times.
When the Jets beat the Patriots, the Jets were at least good defensively at the time with Rex Ryan. So rarely ever happens. I mean, you look at the schedule, and sure, the Saints game could definitely be a challenge for everything you just laid out, where the offense, that same Saints defense is still there, and the offense obviously has to get through that. I'm looking at that Buffalo game. It's like, all right, this is the next game where maybe the Bucs could lose, and it's a home game for them. It's crazy to think that. What a time we live in for the Bucs.
I mean, you're definitely talking about some of the worst passing attacks in the league throughout the rest of their schedule, even as you get to Washington.
Like after the bye, you got Washington.
Right. And the Giants are playing well. They're not playing well as a team. Their defense has been terrible. But Daniel Jones is actually playing better than I've ever seen him play before. So we'll see if that can continue. Yeah. But yeah, there are a lot of challenges when you look at the schedule that way for sure. Speaking of challenges, Matt, I was challenged a little bit at Underdog Fantasy this week because I had Chris Godwin over 5.5 receptions on Pick'ems. And he got 5 in the first half and none in the second half.
Yeah,
Miles Sanders with 23 receiving yards. 24. I didn't feel like that was that much to ask for, considering that Myles Gaskin had just torched the Bucs and they didn't have Levante David. And nope, he couldn't get there. So I lost my pick 4 that I had going with Underdog Fantasy, but I still might play again this weekend because
it's fun, man. The game within the game.
That's right. You can talk about these pick'em games. If you go over to Underdog Fantasy, you can check them out on Underdog. You can select over or under on player stat lines, get a pick 2 correct, and you can triple your money, as I did the other day. Get a pick 5 correct, and you win 20 times the amount of money you enter with. It's simple. Go to underdogfantasy.com, download their app, sign up with the code PEWTER, P-E-W-T-E-R, and build a pick'em slip in seconds. They're going to give you a free $10 when you sign up and make your first deposit. So download the Underdog Fantasy app, sign up with the code PEWTER, P-E-W-T-E-R, and get your free $10 today. And by the way, spread the word about it too. Tell people, hey, this is a great opportunity. Get them out there and give them that promo code. It helps us out and helps them be able to win some money too, which is always a good thing. So we appreciate that. We got a $10 super chat down here from our guy, Eric Collison. We appreciate
you, Eric.
it, Eric, as always. Most of the talk on the secondary, anyone that is worth trading for, considering most of our secondary is up for contract or due next year. Also, when does Rojo get traded? Miss you guys. Miss you too, Eric. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Appreciate that. Okay, so let's just talk real quick on the secondary. Jamel Dean, Sean Murphy-Bunting have another year for them. Another year for Mike Edwards. 2 more years for Antoine Winfield Jr. after this one. So those guys are all back next year. You're looking at Carlton Davis and Jordan Whitehead. No reason to do anything with Whitehead right now. And Carlton Davis is going to be a guy that the Bucs probably want to get back. We'll see if we can get him back healthy. That's going to be key, I think. But I don't know. Right now, I don't think that they're going to do anything. We'll see if somebody becomes available before when is the trade deadline? I don't even know if I know.
It's got to be like second week of November, something like that, or maybe first week of November, which the Bucs would have the bye, which almost that's the best time to assess if you need a trade or not. I think the issue too is a lot of times like you don't know the conversations that other GMs around the league are having, where unless Rappaport or Schefter comes out with a report like, oh, this XYZ is considering trading this cornerback, or this cornerback has requested a trade or release or whatever. It's tough to be like, oh yeah, this trade would work out. Just throw him a 5th round pick. It's not really as simple as that. And then to answer the Ronald Jones part, the Bucs, I still think at one point or another are going to need Ronald Jones. Whether it's Leonard Fournette gets hurt, whether things aren't just going well for a game with Leonard, so Ronald Jones gets a couple of more snaps and turns into the good Ronald Jones that we've seen. Depth is so important, as we're learning, with everyone so banged up in the secondary. And it's like, if you trade Ronald Jones, sure, you still have Gio Bernard, but he's mostly a 2-minute drill and third down type of guy. So then your other backup running back is Keyshawn Vaughn. Obviously, Rojo, I don't think would be happy with the amount of playing time that he's getting. I just think down the road, and it could be 8 weeks from now, I feel like there is going to be a situation where he could still really come up big for this team. Might not happen today or tomorrow, but depth is so important, as we're learning, and I don't think the Bucs can get away with losing a guy like that right now. Yeah.
No, I think you're right. I don't think the Bucs are going to trade anybody. I don't think they're going to trade for anybody. That's my opinion on it. Could they? Maybe they could. But I think Carlton Davis is going to be back. I mean, I think that they know that at least. When he'll be back, I don't know. But I think he'll be back, and I think you'll also see Sean Murphy-Bunting come back at some point, even if it's closer to the end of the regular season, or the last 4 or 5 weeks, or the Bills game, or whatever, something like that. To me, that's in the cards for this team, and trading for somebody, especially someone significant. I mean, I guess you could see like what today Zach Ertz got traded. That cracked
right, and exactly like no one was thinking, oh,
yeah,
Zach Ertz.
What are the Eagles doing? They played Zach Ertz last night, fully planning. They said after they talked last week.
Well, he scored a touchdown, so they could probably get more. Maybe they got what did he get, a 5th round? Maybe it was a 6th
rounder, and Tay Gowan a 5th round.
So maybe originally they were only going to get a 6th round back, and then Zach Ertz scores a touchdown. Like, hey, give us a 5th. So
no, all they did was risk him to injury, risk losing out on the trade, being stuck with him, paying him all the rest of his money that they obviously want to move on from. It just made absolutely no sense at all. But also, I thought it was hilarious that if he hadn't said that, I was going to be like, they just took one look at Pierre Desir locking him up late in the game for 6 snaps, and they said, "We're going to get what we can for you, buddy." And I just think that. I don't know that he's even got anything left, but Arizona adds something, adds a piece there. But, maybe somebody like that, development.
Isn't it crazy too? Like 2 seasons ago, outside of, Kelsey and Kittle, from a fantasy football situation, was like one of the best tight ends in fantasy football. And then like 2 years later, he's barely scratching rosters.
Yeah, it's true. It's, he's not the same guy for sure. Injuries have caught up with him. He was never a great athlete, but injuries have caught up with him and affected him for sure. Damien wants to talk about regular season Lenny. But before we do that, and I do want to talk about Leonard Fournette a little bit before we wrap up the show, I want to hear about our friends over at Pin Chasers, Matt, and what they're doing, because I know there's a Pewter Report bowling league coming up here pretty soon.
Yay. That is correct. First of all, Pin Chasers, the owner, Anthony, is a huge Bucs fan. I've spoken with him a lot about he's got a great knowledge of football. He went to the U, so he's a D. Delaney guy. I'm sure he's happy with how D. Delaney played. But they've been in business for over 60 years. They are a family-owned business, multiple locations on Armenia. That's where the bowling league is going to be, in Midtown and over in Zephyr Hills as well, too. The bowling league, I'll get to the bowling league in a second. The Pin Chasers in general, it is a great event to go with your family, to go with your friends on a night out. They have different special events going on almost every single night. Tuesday night pizza bowl, all you can eat pizza after 9 p.m. for $11.99. All you can bowl on Thursdays for the same price of $11.99, and you could also get $1 Miller Lights. So you can go there, watch Thursday night football, enjoy a Bucs victory, such as last night. So many different events going on. They got a great grill, the 10-pin grill, where they serve breakfast food, not just for breakfast, but at any time, afternoon and night, which is great. And then, yes, we have the Pewter Report Bowling League coming back. Change of schedule, move to October 27th. It's on Wednesdays now. Wednesdays at 6:30. It's going to be a great time. I definitely encourage everyone to come out. You can come with a team. You can come as an individual player. We'll put you on a team. All skill levels are encouraged because there is a like in golf, there's you got a handicap. So if you're playing against someone who's really good, it helps even out the playing field. So, for example, you'll bowl a game and then you'll get maybe 50 pins per game. So if you're playing against a great bowler, it levels everything out. It's not like you're just going to get dominated. You can end up winning thanks to the bowling handicap that they'll give you. So it's 6:30. We're going to be giving away a lot of great things. We're going to give free T-shirts to some of the new signups that join the league. We'll be doing a raffle giveaway with fun little different prizes. Pewter Report's always got a lot of fun things to give away. So again, that's October 27th on Wednesdays at the Pin Chasers on Armenia. It's right down the block from the Bucs facility. It's going to be an awesome time. Make sure to you can email me at matt@pewterreport.com if you want to join the league, or we got a sign-up sheet as well, or you could DM us. Just let us know either way you want. And go to pinchasers.net to reserve a lane or book a party there. So Pin Chasers.
I don't mean to be a distraction, but these lights, do you see them? These little reflections on my face?
Yeah, the sun.
Yeah, I'm trying to eat them right now.
Okay.
Okay, buddy. All right.
All right. Cool. I mean, what are you?
They're look at them. I don't even know where they're coming from because I have the window shade up. They're like,
are they peeking through the blinds?
I don't know. I don't really know how, because I have the blinds actually I can adjust them up or down, and I have them going up, so the light wouldn't even be.
Maybe it's a sign from God.
Maybe it's like a shovel. I bet they're working out there. I bet there's a metal pole and it's reflecting up off the metal pole through the bottom of the shade. That's crazy.
Okay.
Things you don't plan for on the pod. Anyway, let's talk about Leonard Fournette. Speaking of unexpected things, Leonard Fournette going off this season, Matt, has been last year. I said last year Jordan Whitehead was that guy for me. I didn't expect Jordan Whitehead to ball. And I felt like he balled last year. He did real well after the first couple weeks of the season. So talking him up and hyping him. This year, I didn't see this coming from Leonard. I didn't see the production, but also him seizing the role. But I also didn't see the way that it happened. I mean, Rojo fell on his face, and that was part of it. But Leonard's taking the opportunity, and he's actually been good. Where last year,
he's literally running with it.
Which one of these guys hurts you less? Yeah, now he's actually literally running away with the job. And we haven't really seen that since Arians has been in Tampa Bay, right? Where he actually is
no,
this guy's the feature guy. I mean, even if he won't say it, it's clear.
Yeah, it's a clear fact at this point. He got me 32 points in fantasy football last night with those 2 touchdowns. And everything he's doing in the run game is a very fine job. I love what he's doing in the passing game. We've all talked about for years, Brady, he needs that running back that he throws to. And we all thought Giovanni Bernard was going to be that guy. And Gio Bernard, yes, he's playing a role as well too. But the things that all season Lenny, Thursday night Lenny, truck stick Lenny, all purpose Lenny are doing, it's so much fun to watch. It's obviously super beneficial to the team. He's breaking ankles. He's trucking over guys. He's carrying 2 defenders to get a first down. There is momentum that comes when Leonard Fournette makes a big play. Maybe even more than if Chris Godwin or Mike Evans does something. Because there's something when you bring that physicality to today's modern day NFL when there is so little physicality. When Truck Stick Lenny is barreling through, running over defenders to get over that yard marker for a first down, it brings attitude and swagger and everything else with it to a team that's already Super Bowl champions. The Celsius is hitting, if you can't tell.
Hey,
and
Celsius works.
Yeah, it's awesome to see.
Yeah.
The Bucs needed this from him. He's stepping up. He's going to earn himself a contract somewhere next season. I'm not necessarily going to say it's with the Bucs, but
yeah,
it's awesome. It's really awesome to see for Leonard Fournette. It's great to see someone progress in their career when things were down against them, and now they bounce back up onto the other side.
Especially the personal side of it. I think it's the personal story side of it's really cool with him. So it is good. It's great to see. No question about it for Lenny. He's done some really good things at Tampa Bay. And he's playing at a really high level right now. And Bruce even said, he's like, and Bruce usually goes both ways, right? You ask him, how do you think Jamel Dean's played? Well, he had the one this, but he's done this well. And he was just like, Lenny's playing awesome right now. Like he was like, he's turning
There's
into
no
every
denying
down
it.
Back for us all 3 phases. He's done a really good job. But the pass protection stuff, he was good again the other day in pass protection. He's a real asset to the team right now. And I thought it was going to be a guy they were going to have to overcome this year, basically, when he was out there. And he's still, I will say this, and I'm going to pull the Arians here and go both ways because he's still unbelievably inconsistent as a pure runner. He's gotten to the point where
he still does the little tap dance a little bit.
He had the clearest lane of all time in this game against the Light Eagles box. He literally just came to a full stop in the hole because a linebacker was coming like out of his peripheral. Just outrun the guy, mash the gas. Yeah. Luckily, Marpet got there, so he blocked the guy anyway. But it was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, he's still got like a 9-yard.
But then he goes and he makes that play where they were inside the 10 and he cut it out to the outside. He got tackled at the 1 and they scored not long after. But I think you got to take the good and the bad with him.
Yeah. As a runner, he's very consistent. I can't believe the other aspects of his game have really developed nicely. That's the biggest surprise to me. I don't think the runner stuff is ever going to change. He kind of is who he is there. But the fact that he's been able to be a pass catcher who catches the ball
all the time,
but consistently so far this year. I think he has 3 drops that still might lead the team, but they were early in the year for the most part. Like they were not a big negative for the year. And I think that's a real gift. And then also the fact that he's literally made people miss and broken tackles in the open field. The Bucs are, I think, still first or second in the league in teams of yards after catch this season. That would have been a joke a year ago, but that's where they're at because of Leonard and OJ Howard improving in that way. Godwin's backed himself. Antonio Brown in the offense. He's been really effective in that way. Even Evans will scrap and fight for a yard or 2 here and there.
People were concerned, but that Mike Evans didn't have a good game last night. Meanwhile, he went for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns the week
I actually
before.
Didn't see that, but I believe you. People literally, if Mike Evans, what are we going to do? He only had 20-some yards. I mean, come on.
He only caught almost every pass that that was targeted.
They said after week 1, and he went off and had 75 plus.
By the way, Mike Evans leads the team in receiving yards, so
it's not a problem. And it's so funny. Some of the comments you see. I literally saw a comment today to Greg Allman that said we should trade Chris Godwin. I think if we're not going to throw to him more than this. I was like, what are we talking about? I mean, I would be okay with seeing Tyler Johnson play a little bit less so AB could get over 50% of the snaps. But can we just talk about AB? 49% of the snaps he plays, and he gets 13 targets and 9 catches. I mean,
well, he had a bit of an ankle issue yesterday. So
that's true, the foot or whatever. But no, I mean, it's just crazy. Like, I mean, 13 targets. You only played.
I know.
You barely played enough snaps, especially not all those are even. They're not all even passing plays that he's in for. He had another good run block the other day.
I noticed that. I was like, all right, AB. All right.
That's
in the mix.
Yeah, developments you didn't see happening. It's crazy. All right, well, let's not get out of the show before we get the opportunity to tell our friends about living golf life. You see Matt and I, I'm coming back to us. You see us rocking the hats.
That's right. I'm doing the backwards action.
I got it forward. Matt's got it back so you can see both sides.
Right there.
Yeah, we did this on purpose so you could you could see how it was modeled. And obviously it might not look as good on people who aren't as good looking as Matt and I, but still Living Golf Life's got a lot of cool stuff that people should check out.
Absolutely. Living Golf Life, while it's a golf brand, it's also a lifestyle brand. It's about going out on the course, no matter how good or bad you play. The thing you enjoy the most is that you're out there with your friends, your family, having a good time, enjoying being outdoors, and just loving the game overall. They have awesome hats, as you just saw with us. Very extremely comfortable polos that can be worn in essentially any situation. Living Golf Life is a very new company. It started in January of this year. Started by two guys that are awesome. They are have military backgrounds and first responders, so we're especially thankful for that. Along with the hats and polos, they got koozies and glass mugs, which I have right now, which I'll show in a second once I am back on the screen. But make sure you go to livinggolflife.com. Check out all their apparel. This is the glass mug that I got right here. You can see it says Golf Life right there. Use it on Sunday when you're watching all the other football, or Saturday. There's college football as well, too. But go to livinggolflife.com. Check out all their apparel and their swag. You won't be disappointed for sure. I can guarantee that. Get a glass mug as well, too. And follow them on Instagram because they do a ton of giveaways and things like that. Their Instagram is at Living Golf Life. They'll do things. They'll post a picture and say, caption this. You come up with the best caption, you'll win a free item. So check them out. Living Golf Life. It's an awesome website. And if you love to golf, which if you live in Florida, there's probably a good chance you do. It's great apparel to have.
Yeah, great gifts and great stuff to ask for gifts as well.
Yes.
All right, we look ahead. We look ahead here for a second. We've done a little bit of that on this show, but we look ahead and we see, the upcoming slate for the Bucs. Bears obviously going to be Sunday 4/25 or 4/05 or something like that kick on October 24th. Then on Halloween against the Saints, same time, I believe. I think it's the same time the next week. And then you've got the bye week. And then you've got Washington, the Giants, the Colts. They're struggling right now. My goodness.
They almost beat Baltimore, though.
I know. Giving up that.
I had the Ravens in my Survivor League, so I was freaking. I'm like, this game's done. Pumped. And then Calais Campbell blocks the kick. Yeah, that was insane.
That was awesome. Atlanta, Buffalo, Saints, Panthers, Jets, Panthers. I'm curious to see what happens with the Panthers. Like, are they going to keep it up? They lost 2 in a row now.
It'll be 2 months from now. So, what type of Panthers team do we got going on here? Does Sam Darnold improve? Does he regress? What's the status of Christian McCaffrey? Because at this point, as he's an insanely talented player, we all know that. But at this point, he gets injured every single season.
He never was injured before that, right? Like, got paid. Boom.
Yeah.
Barkley, you draft him high, boom, out all the time. It
sucks.
Never.
I feel bad for running backs because there's a lot of great players, but it makes no sense to pay them, but they still got to make a living. So
can't do it.
Yeah.
All right. This was great to do on a Friday to get everybody in here. So we do appreciate y'all. This was great. Subscribe to Pewter Report TV if you haven't. Subscribe to Pewter Report and you'll get notified when our podcasts go live. You'll be able to jump in for all these shows. You won't miss any of our great Bucs content. We'll be back next week on Monday. We'll be back at 4 p.m. on Monday, ready to break things down. We're going to take a couple days. We might actually get some sleep tonight. Rest and recuperate. Take a little mini buy ourselves. Nah, I'm just kidding. If you go over to pewterreport.com, you'll see tons of great content. We've got probably 8 or 9 articles up there from today on things that were happening in the game or things that were said in the pressers, things of that nature. So make sure you check all that up. Stay abreast to everything going on with your Bucs. Until next time, thanks so much for listening to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.
Hi, Pop. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, everybody. Out.